So you think you want to start a career in tech. Who doesn't, right? You heard the money's good and you don't know even what you're getting into. All you know is that it sounds exciting and, there's more opportunities there in all sorts of ways. And that is true. That is true. But this should probably be the first video you watch uh, from at least the Skill Stack Beginner Boost. And if you're here, this is pretty much outside of the scheduling and stuff. This is probably the first real video that you should watch because you need to make a decision right up front about what kind of life you want to lead. And I have a couple stories related to this. Um, I'm going to go ahead and start with one of the stories. One of the stories is a guy who uh, amazing human being. He was a track star and he absolutely loved crypto and he was writing his own Python code to manage his crypto wallet from the Thanksgiving dinner table. And he thought he wanted to be a coder, but he ended up not coming through on his own his own learning, his own goals with his own learning. Not really homework. We never really had that, and and I asked him, I cornered him once. I said, what's going on? I mean, it seems like everybody else is kind of progressing and you're not doing this stuff. What's up? And he's like, I just don't like to code. And I was like, what do you mean you don't like to code? You're like, well, I just don't like it. I like the idea of it. And it's taken me about a year to figure this out, but I really don't like programming. I like being around technology. And oh my God, he could talk the talk. He knew everything. He could talk about, the different languages and he could talk about, but he actually, when it came down to writing code and doing it regularly, he was like, he dreaded it. And I'm telling you this story because that, to my way of thinking, that was a success. He came to the realization that, and I told him, I said, listen, there is a lot of other things that you can do in tech that don't have anything to do with writing code. And he happened to be a very, handsome, charismatic figure. And I was like, you would probably be a very, very good, salesperson or representative. And I make jokes about marketing and advertising all the time, but the fact of the matter is, people who are representative of, technologies or work for companies that are selling tech, who need to be able to talk the talk, and they are very, conversational and approachable, but they have the ability to digest the tech topics and communicate them while still being able to have a firm handshake and talk to people. That's a real skill. And I had to tell him, I was like, look, you can have a career in technology that doesn't have anything to do with coding. And I want to start this whole beginner boost with that idea because you really need to think to yourself, you have to kind of ask yourself, what is it that I want to do every day? And this is related to a larger question, and there is a little exercise I probably will document in a separate video, but it boils down to what are the activities that you want to do every day? And you need to answer this question very early on. You need to answer this question before you even talk about the tech career. You need to ask yourself, very specifically, what do you enjoy doing during the day? And that means sometimes, because I have no idea what I like to do, sometimes you have to start with what you don't want to do. And so I'm gonna throw my son under the bus. One of the things that he did, he taught. He did a lot of teaching in technology for private schools. And one day he told me, he goes, well, I have learned I really, really don't want to work with kids. Which is so ironic because he's so good with kids. He's just such a natural. But he realized he didn't want anything to do with kids. He didn't want to be around them. He didn't want to help them figure anything out. He's like, I don't want to be around kids. But he learned something about himself there. So what does this have to do with the beginner boost and you getting a tech career? You can't really commit to a tech lifestyle, which comes with a career, and we'll get into what that means in a bit, without knowing what it is you want to do every day. And there's so many people who are just completely unable to articulate what it is they want to do. And, Baz Luhrmann in the Sunscreen song, there's a line in there where he says, some of the most interesting 40-year-olds still don't know what they want to be. And I mean, that would be me. I'm constantly reinventing what it is I want to do every day. But you need to spend some time before you dedicate any further time to this beginner boost or to any other learning of any kind, deciding what it is you actually like to do. What do you enjoy? And that is an activity that you're going to have to. I mean, for me, it would be out riding on my bike or paddleboarding or doing yoga, and those quiet moments that I realize, what, this is, those kind of moments of inspiration. And you need to figure that out. You need to figure out, how are you going to get inspired? What is it that speaks to you? What are the activities that you want to do? And the most specific bit of advice I can give you there is, imagine what you would do every day. If you were doing it every day, do you want to do it? Do you want to do it? And no more, we're not going to do wrench jokes, but are you going to do it every day? You're going to be doing it every day. That means, do you want to sit in front of a computer screen? I have a confession to make. I hate sitting in front of the computer. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. You know what I really love? I love to type. I've always loved to type since I was 9. I love typing. I like typing out things as fast as I can. And so there are things that you need to figure out about what you usually like to do. I like to be in the outdoors. Do I want that to be my job? I don't know. I also like getting paid. I like having health insurance. I absolutely love communicating. I personally love an audience, which, works. I like DJing. So, I'm, kind of allowed myself to be honest, which is hard, right? Sometimes you've been told a script so much that you've been told this is what you are supposed to like. And you think that if you don't like that thing, that, you don't even know what you really like, because you can't distinguish what you've been told to like from what you really like. So you need to really spend some time with yourself. And if you're watching this at the beginning of the Beginner Boost, I really strongly encourage you to find a quiet time, find some moment for you to actually be alone with yourself, your thoughts, and your higher power, however you perceive that. And you seriously kind of ask yourself, what do you want to do every day? I'm not talking about what job you want. I'm talking about what are the activities you want to do, right? And there's actually How I Met Your Mother, which is an amazing series. I really love it. There's a moment in How I Met Your Mother, and I won't be able to find the meme at this moment. I actually made a meme about this that my wife has hanging on her wall still to this day. And there's this completely inappropriate scene where, I mean, it would never pass today, where the naked guy with the cello is answering the questions from the mother in How I Met Your Mother. There's one episode where it's about her and not him. And she's confused. She's like, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, I don't know, I can't find my way, and all this stuff. And the cellist, who's like the source of wisdom in kind of this moment, he says, well, what is it that you've always wanted to do with your life? And she says that she wants to end poverty. And he says, great. Now, every decision you make from this point on should be in the service of that, to progress that. So finding out what it is you really want to do, and what you sincerely want to do, and what are those activities you're going to do every day. So there's like your general mission in life kind of idea, but beyond that, there's also, what are the activities you actually like doing? Some people love working with their hands. Some people don't. Some people love a screen. Some people blah, blah. So just focus on those things and find out what those things are. Okay, so that's the main part of this video. If you don't take anything else away from this video, take away that sort of homework assignment for yourself to go figure out what are those activities you want to do. And then the next decision is to determine whether those activities are compatible with the tech lifestyle. Okay, so here's the second part of this video. I was going to maybe make it a separate video, but I'm just going to keep it in here. the tech lifestyle. And I stole that term directly from Learn with Leon. Learn with Leon is an amazing Twitch streamer. He did a whole free series. He's been I think it was Magellan that he works with. He's been helping people get jobs, particularly for web development, for a long time. I strongly recommend Learn with Leon. If you're looking to get a job and you're looking to learn, is an amazing YouTuber and on Twitch. Among many, there's many really good ones out there. But I was watching him once, and uh, he shared this idea. He says, "Look, if you're going to get a tech job, you are committing to a lifestyle." And I was like, "What is this about?" And his point was that the lifestyle of a technologist involves certain expectations that, and this goes for any career, but knowing the expectations or knowing the lifestyle of a technologist is really important, because you are dedicating yourself to living that lifestyle, and you better damn well be compatible with the things that you want to do every day, which was the first part of this video. So let me delineate what I believe the tech lifestyle requires. Okay. And we're just going to spit these out. And if somebody's in the chat and wants to throw in something else, go for it. But the very first thing and the primary thing that the tech lifestyle requires is dedication to an autodidactic life. What does that mean? That means that you are going to be constantly required to learn quickly. I call it just-in-time learning, in order to produce value for your employer, to keep your job, to stay fresh. And you are going to need to keep going and going and going and going on that. You're going to have to keep constantly learning. And some people, when you tell them, "Are you telling me that I'm going to be in school all day, all the time? I'm constantly going to have to read and research, and basically I'm never done with homework." That's what I'm saying. And if you don't want to do that, if you're not, some people love it. They love that they're always learning, and that there's always going to be a new challenge, and there's always a new technology that they have to master, or that they have to patch, or it never stops. It never stops. And it can be exhausting. And if that is not what you like, if you do not like having to constantly read and update something that you just learned a month ago, it's so frequent. There are certain areas of technology that are so rapidly changing that the web community in particular invented a term called framework fatigue. Framework fatigue is a web concept where there are so many different web frameworks that by the time you learn one and master it, there's a new one out and your project isn't even done. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing in the industry where people are so overwhelmed with all of the stuff that is coming at them that they get frustrated, they get stressed, and you don't want stress. Stress is going to cause you to be fat and grumpy, like, Rob from 2020. You have to be able to figure out how to offset that. And I don't have to tell you that, one of my primary ways of offsetting the stress of learning things all the time is, allocating a specific amount of time on a Friday. I will not work for a company that does not give me my full Friday to learn. And every modern company that matters, that has a technology department, regularly will give you your Friday off, usually. And they have different names for it. But if the company doesn't give you Friday off, you're screwed, because you're just never going to be able to keep up. You won't be able to have a family and put in your 6 to 8 hours a day or whatever it is. Usually they want you to put even more time than that in. And that amount of time, there's this expectation that you're going to do all the learning on your own. So it's so important that that your interests are compatible with the tech lifestyle. And the primary requirement for that lifestyle is that autodidactic commitment. By the way, being an autodidact is way more. You can go look up the summary of what that word means. But being an autodidact is way, way, way more than just being an independent learner. This means that you actually create structure around your learning, that you regularly meet your own benchmarks that you've set for yourself to learn, and that you are regularly assessing where you are with regard to those benchmarks of your own learning. This is all happening from you internally. You don't have anybody else involved. If anything, there's a mentor involved that you have reached out to say, hey, can you help validate my plan that I've created? And that is what it means to be an autodidact. If you have a hard time taking responsibility and accountability for your own learning, and you feel yourself not being motivated, or not, you need a push, an extra push or something, you might not be suitable for technology. Now, I would suggest that you should probably get over that no matter what career you're in. My wife is a very, very dedicated autodidact, and she's actually doing a masterclass right now, because, and she's an artist. And it's the people that are more dedicated to learning, improving, and setting in their own benchmarks for their own learning and progress that tend to succeed better in life, and definitely tech. So if you are not interested in effectively going to school for the rest of your life, stay away from tech. It's just not for you. There are other jobs you can do that are very interesting, I'm sure, but just stay away. And thank you for the follow. If it turns out, though, that is what you like, then the next step is, well, how do I organize my learning? And what do I do to decide what to learn on? And this is the third part of this video. I was going to make this a third video, but I just wanted to have one video that covers it all. There's an activity that I used to do. This is where the term skill stack came from. What are the skills in your stack, right? Which skills do you actually need? Which ones are the foundation, and which ones are kind of ancillary? What are you building on, et cetera, et cetera? And there's a very simple activity that you can do that I've been having people do for years, that I started doing, actually. This goes back to when I was at IBM. I was kind of disenchanted with, chasing down memory leaks in somebody else's code that was completely stupid. And I was like, I'm out of here. And I actually went to do a job interview and got smacked down big time. It was a job that I should have knocked out of the park, and I ended up writing a complex regular expression parser just to handle JSON parsing, because the interview was about JSON, and I had allowed my skills to get soft because I knew I could learn anything anytime. I suppose hubris or my confidence was always that, I can learn anytime, but I had stopped doing that. I had stopped learning those new things. So when this job opportunity came up that I wanted, I thought, okay, I'll just interview. I should get it right away. I didn't get it. And I actually had to listen to, some junior person tell me, do you think that there's an easier way to do that? I'm like, yes, I know there's an easier way to do that. I just don't have it at the fingertips right now. And that experience, which happened in my 40s, caused me to create the very first skill stack, which was, for me, sort of an app. I don't have it anymore, but it was kind of an app to track my own skills. And I'm going to tell you how you can do this without having an app. There's really no app needed. And this is going to be very quick and dirty. This is a pretty big video, but hopefully we can cover all this stuff in one time. So what it boils down to ranking yourself based on how good you are. And the ranking system, I have to give credit for it, comes from Google. I actually interviewed with Google, and I think it's actually proprietary. I don't know if I can share it, but it's so stupid and simple. I think I'm probably going to be fine. So the system of ranking is first of all, what you're doing is we're going to come up with individual line item skills, right? And we'll talk about how to do that. And then we're going to talk about how to rate yourself in those skills. And I'll just jump right into the rating system. The rating system is 1 to 10, 10 being you invented it, right? And 1 being you've heard of it, right? 0 meaning I have no idea what it is. So based on this, so 1 is I've heard of it, but 2 is like I'm okay with it. I've messed around with it, but I couldn't really be paid for it. 3 is I could be professionally employed using the thing. I'm competent. I'm professionally competent. A 3 is professionally competent. 4 means I'm not only professionally competent, but I'm on the team. I'm something of a team leader and an SME, a subject matter expert on my team with regard to this thing. And 5 is not only am I the team leader, but I'm regularly looked to, maybe presenting at conferences or local meetups. So 5 is, an exceptional mastery of the thing. And everything from 6 to 10 is, I've written books on it. I am, the world authority. I'm on the board for the thing. And so that's Google's ranking system. So most of us are going to be between, 0 and 5. and but above that, you might have some other things. So that's the ranking system. And then the question is, okay, well, what am I ranking? And you could just have a basic spreadsheet. You can just take a piece of paper and split it down the middle, and you can start to say, like, when you're doing research about the kind of things that are required for a particular career, particularly in tech, you can just write them down. So, and the real good part of this activity is by having a piece of paper or a spreadsheet or something on your phone, whatever. By having this ongoing place to write down the skills as you learn about them, you can feel less stressed because you're putting it there. So especially when you're getting, like, right now, you feel like you're getting the whole fire hose of terms, right? You want to go into tech and you're like, I heard about React and Angular and blah, 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 and this and that and Go versus Rust. You're getting so overwhelmed with terminology and acronyms and everything. It can be very, very overwhelming. And by having a simple skill stack that you track, what you can do is you can write down the term, right? Whatever it is, right? HTML, right? And then so when you hear about it, like you're at a meetup or something and you hear about it, you can write them down, and you don't even know if you need it yet. You don't even know what it is. You might be a zero, right? And so it gives you a place to write down all of these terms and to kind of dismiss them out of your brain, so that you're not stressed, because otherwise you're going to be stressed about, oh no, it's full. I fear I'm missing out. I like all these things that I should learn, and so you write all these memes too, yeah, and you write these things down, and then you can come back to them, and you can kind of do a little bit of research to know what the term means, which means you're already kind of a one, and then you can create two columns with regard to that. The one column is, well, here's where I am, and the other column is, here's where I want to be, and that's it. That's it. You have one column of the terms, which are roughly equivalent to a skill. Sometimes it's just an acronym. Sometimes it's the kind of thing that you would have listed in a job posting, right? And by the way, this is the reason that I use sort of job posting vernacular when I write line items and videos and stuff like that, because it's easier for you to find, right? It's like, edit a file from the command line would be one of these things, right? How good do you need to be at that, right? And you can practice this management of your skill stack until you feel confident being able to do it kind of internally. But when you first start out, it's kind of nice having it organized. I mean, people freak out on this, and they get really obsessed with it. But once you have those three columns, you have a few tasks over here, and you have your ranking here, and you have where you are and where you want to be, and this is where your mentor can help you, because they can kind of chime in and say, you're probably more of a 3 here than you think, or something. And so you've got that organization, and then you want to know what to work on, right? So then you identify 2 things on the list, and you circle them, and maybe one you star and the other one you circle. And the one is that what you want to do because it's fun, and the other one is the one you have to do, that you have to do. And by having those 2 things that you're always working on, you'll have one item. One item is the thing that you do because you want to do it, and the other one is the one you need to put time in, but you don't. It's harder to do. And then when you're fresh, you guys know this, right? But you're always fresh. When you're coming at something, you just woke up, you're nice, and you got a lot of excitement. You just heard "Come, Come, My Baby," and you're like all excited. We were just dancing the other day, just 5 minutes ago, and you're all excited, and you want to go learn that thing, and you go do the hard thing while you're really motivated. And then when your motivation wanes, which it will, because you'll get tired and you need more coffee or whatever, it'll wane. And but then you get to do the fun thing. And so then, instead of failing over to playing your favorite video game or doing some other escapist activity, which is not completely horrible, you do need a break, you might be able to use that other fun thing on your list of things that you need to master as your backup. And then you're like, oh, well, I worked on this one thing that was hard that I really didn't enjoy working on, but I know I have to work on it. for a certain amount of time. But that other thing, oh, I get to go work on my project to do blah, blah, blah. And then that motivates you to keep working toward your list instead of like totally setting it aside and not working on anything because you're so frustrated. Um, and yeah, so having a mentor there to help you stay motivated, to answer your questions and stuff is a real essential part of this. We will do a separate video about how to identify a mentor, how to find one, um, and and how to be your own mentor if you can't find one. But this activity, this managing your skill stack, is a big part of it. So this has been a long video. We started out by talking about what it means to be a technologist, what kind of commitment it's going to take to live a technology career lifestyle. Primarily the time commitment to remaining a learning autodidact. Um, there are other elements of the expectation of a person working in tech, but those are the fundamental ones. Another big piece of the commitment to technology, we talked about the autodidactic learning thing. Now let's move on to another requirement, and that is getting to know people. And we're going to do a whole video on building your professional learning network and maintaining that. So that's a separate thing. That'll have its own video, but that is a part of the lifestyle. If you are not dedicated to regularly interacting with other people in the community, it's kind of part of the learning thing, but it's even more than that. It's job security. Job security comes by knowing people. And there's one thing that Learn with Leon also agrees very strongly on, is that nobody ever gets cold called and ever gets a job by just sending a resume. It's always about who you know. Separate video completely about that, and why your professional learning network is more than just a learning network. It's also a way for you to get job opportunities. And if you are not cultivating those relationships regularly as a part of your tech lifestyle, you will fail as a technologist. I guarantee it. I've seen it many times. You need to keep those new professional relationships happening, and you need to maintain them. And not everybody wants to do that. And there are tech jobs that don't require this. Particularly when I was at IBM, there were people that were patent holders who cloistered themselves away and just coded for 24/7, and they were like geniuses. And there are definitely jobs for that, but usually those people have a recruiter. And when we talk about fostering your PLN, we're also talking about the importance of a recruiter as being, yeah, in my opinion, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but there are two key people that every technologist should have in their corner: their recruiter and their mentor, at least one. And if you have those two people in your corner, yeah, there's obviously the peers you work with, but those two people are the ones that are going to help you cover the bases when you need the extra help, particularly if you're not good with people. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the professional learning network, which includes, those people. So that's it for the lifestyle, for the lifestyle assessment, what you're going to get into. I hope that by the end of this video, you have sort of a handle on what you need to start to do, the meditation or whatever you have to do to come to terms with what you want to be and if you want to work in tech, at least to make an initial decision. Truthfully, a lot of the people that I helped, including the story I told you, they don't come to the realization they don't want to be in technology until they've actually had a taste of it for quite a while. So I'm actually trying to help you make that decision ahead of time, but it's not bad for you to have that, come to that conclusion after trying code out, after trying Linux out, after trying, what hardware out, whatever hacking, whatever thing you want to do to get a sample of it. It depends on how much time you have, but hopefully this will give you a chance to look through all those things. We haven't even gone through really all of the different jobs. Depending on when you saw the video, there is a video about selecting the job that you want. I think it'll be the video right after this if you haven't already watched it. And then you can look at the actual careers in technology that the Boost is designed for, and you can decide sort of in advance which ones interest you more than the other, and then you can learn about it and decide if that's what you still want to do. So that is going to be something that we're going to go forward with. Other than that, there's two last things that I want to leave you with in this particular video. Hopefully, this is the first video you see regarding the actual content of the boost. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the web browser for a second. So there, let me see if I can get this up first. Let's go ahead and find. Let me find it before. I don't want to have you too distracted. There are two other videos that go with this video, and these are directly related to the whole learning thing. And okay, and I am not going to talk about them too much. Okay, so the first video is about Aaron Schwarz, the internet's own boy. There's several versions of this. I don't know which one is probably best, but you can get this entire video for free. And the reason that I strongly encourage you to watch the whole thing, it's very tragic, is because Aaron Schwarz quite simply revolutionized the internet. He partially invented Reddit. He partially wrote. He partnered at 15 with Lawrence Lessig, a Harvard law professor, to write the Creative Commons license. He's single-handedly pushed through congressional changes, and his life has been just a shining example of somebody who was dedicated to changing the world through their commitment to specifically freeing information that normally should be free. But the most important part of that video that relates to what we just talked about with the tech lifestyle is Aaron's dedication to learning, especially when he was young. When he was young, he would learn and read, and he was obsessed with helping other people to learn and to read. So every year, I dedicate the Beginner Boost to the memory of Aaron Schwarz, who took his life rather tragically, and I'll let you watch the documentary to understand how and why that happened. And it's a huge tragedy, and I have a hard time thinking about it too much because it makes me very sad. But it will also give you a sense of somebody who very intensely had chosen the lifestyle of a technologist. And so, he was quite obsessed with work, a work ethic. His work ethic was probably quite higher than what, most of us would have. I would definitely have. He actually looked at it as a waste of time when people were not working constantly on how they could change the world. And so his work ethic was much higher than everybody else's, but he knew exactly what he wanted. And so yeah, that might be out of date. I can fix that link there. So watch that video. The second video that I would suggest you watch, and get the book, is one for Sir Ken Robinson. And if you're not laughing during any of his TED Talks, I'm trying to find the one that I find is probably he's got so many good ones. I think this is the one, actually. But let me see if that's the one. Yeah, this is it. So this is his TEDx talk. He's absolutely hilarious. He was knighted for his work in education. He's not with us anymore. He wrote Out of Their Minds. He has spent his life dedicated to understanding the role of creativity in education and how creativity takes over and innovates education. We haven't talked at all about learning styles or any of these things, but I feel like those things are covered if you just do that one introspective thing. Ask yourself what it is you want to do every day. I think all the answers about what is your learning style, what, multiple intelligence, all these things that people, pedagogical, experts will talk about, I feel like those are kind of not necessary if you spend time with yourself, asking yourself what it is you want to do every day. And that is going to lead you to that. But one of the things that Sir Ken Robinson is going to help you to understand is the role of creativity in that process, and what it means to manage your own learning from a creative perspective. it's not at all, um, wrong to say that technology careers are creative, and I think that this video is a really good one to help you understand that. Yeah, I think you'll find yourself laughing a lot. He does kind of draw the distinction between academia, and you know, people who are actually their bodies are actually vehicles for their heads, as he says. And I think it'll be good for you to watch that. So that's my recommendation: is you watch that one, and you watch Aaron Schwarz, who is a perfect example of somebody who lived a very autodidactic life in the tech world, both as an open activist, as well as somebody who actually made money at it. As one person says in the video, he climbed to the quote shit heap of Silicon Valley, plucked the rose, and climbed back down again. And because he actually left the millionaire life in Silicon Valley because he found it unsatisfying, and he went back to applying technology to change the world in the ways that he felt were important, which I really, really aspire to do, and I hope that others will find inspiration in that as well. And that's all we have to say about this topic. That is a very really long video, but that is pretty much an entire segment. So I'll end it on that, and that should get you going toward an autodidactic tech life if that's what you want to do. Go find out what it is you want to do every day. That's your first thing. If you have any questions about these activities, please let me know, or ask us in the Discord.